Hello, I'm Janice Karen, Director of Policy, Technology, and Innovation at the Massachusetts Health Data Consortium, or MHDC. I run our Data Governance Collaborative, also known as the DGC. We start each of our weekly meetings with a series of industry quick updates to learn about new and proposed regulations, laws, standards, industry initiatives, and other activity. Join us for this week's updates. And if you'll go to the first update, the DaVinci Fire Accelerator has opened up 4 of its implementation guides, all of which are ones that we look at and follow and participate in to various extents for public comment over the next few weeks. So as you can see, the deadline for the CDEX IG is actually next week, and then the 3 prior authorization IGs the week after that. So the comments can be added using that JIRA that's linked in the slide, and any comments that are received will be reviewed by the DaVinci working groups that work on those implementation guides after the comment period closes. So any questions about that? All right, then let's keep going. So CMS has put out what they're calling an RFI on AI use, but it's not a traditional RFI. It's not in the Federal Register. You don't use regulations.gov. It's a very short window. The deadline is October 7th. And what they're actually soliciting is information about existing solutions and projects and products that use AI to improve patient outcomes, and possibly also creating those that create efficiencies in operations. And they're looking for demonstrations as well as information. And they list a bunch of areas that they're particularly interested in. It continues on the next slide. I'm not going to read them all out, but it's pretty broad healthcare related AI. If you go ahead and go to the next slide, you'll see that it really does cover a wide area. Most of the stuff on the previous page was basically healthcare, was outcome based, and this is more operational based. And what CMS is planning to do is hold quarterly AI demo days to highlight some of the stuff that people submit. And in addition to the demos and information about what can be demoed, they're asking about the risks and opportunities for healthcare using AI in healthcare delivery, but it's as part of the soliciting the demos. So it appears to me like for those, if you've done the solution, you have something you want to demo, then you can comment on that area. So you can find more at the page. You'll see it's listed as AI demo days. It's not even really listed as an RFI, but when you get to that page, it talks about being an RFI. So it's a little bit weirdly framed, but basically they're trying to open up these demo days, and they're soliciting people who might want to participate is the main goal. So any questions or comments there? All right, let's keep going then. So the White House had a roundtable on AI infrastructure last week, and there was a fairly broad discussion based on the readout. They talked about safety and sustainability and clean energy and a whole bunch of different topics. And I just pulled some of the announcements of activities that are going to happen or that have happened based on that were discussed or announced at the roundtable. Again, this is really infrastructure related, so it's around things like data centers and policy, but you'll see there's permitting for centers. And so there's a intra-agency task force to coordinate all of this across the different agencies. And then there's also a data center engagement team at the Department of Energy to support data center development. And then sort of just general goals and processes that people have agreed to coming out of the meeting, like a commitment to net zero emissions and using clean energy to power AI, and continuing to work as a private public coordination and interface on this topic. So you can find more details. There's a pretty long readout at the link there. And anyone have any comments or questions or thoughts there? All right, then let's keep going. So CISA and some partners, including the NSA and FBI here, and several international organizations across a multitude of countries, have a new best practices document around event logging and threat detection. And they sort of have, it's a really interesting document. They start with noting some of the features, things that they think should be features of an effective event logging solution. I'm not going to read all of them. You can see them on the screen. But as you can see, some of them are kind of interesting. One that did stand out was enabling agile and informed decisions based on prioritization and analytics, and making sure that the logs are available for analytics and analysts. And then the other one that I thought was interesting was the reducing the alert noise. So perhaps feeding more of the data into the analytics platform and only saving alerts for serious current events type thing. So that's that's sort of the general framework that they're suggesting there. And if you go to the next slide, they also talk about core factors to consider. They go into more detail about all of this stuff. But you can see that they kind of call out 4 different areas to think about around the logging best practices. And then some areas where they provide additional specific thoughts are on how the guidance is different for different platforms. If you're using a Windows platform, if you're using Linux, if you're using a cloud environment, etc. And they include some mobile. I think they also have a separate, if I remember correctly, a separate discussion on mobile as well. So just more discussion on what data to log, data retention and log retention policies. And then again, this last one's where the mobile comes in, priorities for different types of applications and devices. So you can find the guidance at the link. You'll notice that the link is actually hosted by the government of Australia. So like I said, this is an international partnership. And it was a pretty interesting, it's on the lengthy side, but I thought it was a pretty interesting read. Any questions, comments, or thoughts there? All right, if you go to the next slide and pause, I hope you learned a lot from our quick updates. If you're interested in finding out more about the DGC and its other activities, email me at dgc@myhealthdata.org. That email address is also on your screen.